Hey, beautiful people, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Tafara, and this is AKA Mama, where we talk about motherhood. Today, it will be also travel and generally real life parenting experiences. So, today I'm going to be speaking about something that's really close to my heart, and that's traveling to Zimbabwe with a baby. So far, I've done that twice, and the first time my son was 7 months old, the second time he was 1.5 years old. Both experiences were completely different for different reasons. So if you're, planning on traveling with your little one, whether it's to Zimbabwe or to a different country, I feel like you're in the right place because today I'm going to be sharing my travel hacks, my packing must-haves, and those things I wish I knew before traveling with the little one for the first time. To be fair, the first time we had a long distance trip with our son, he was 4 months old and we flew to New York. So by the time we were going to Zimbabwe, it was just a matter of copying and pasting the learnings from the first trip. And one thing I did in advance, I also asked moms that had kids round about my son's age that had traveled with them. I asked them for advice. And one thing I'll start with that a lot of moms said was really when you're booking your flight, try and align the flying times with your child's sleeping pattern. So we booked night flights to increase the chances of him actually falling asleep on the plane and minimize his exposure to overstimulation and stress. In advance, you don't know how your child is going to handle the whole airport situation and being in a confined space with so many people. And this really helped. In our case, our son fell asleep throughout the flight to New York. I think he woke up once for feeding. I happened to have a conversation with a former flight engineer who says that babies commonly sleep really well on flights because of the reduced air pressure, the reduced oxygen levels, and those engine noises are like white noise for babies. So that was really good. It was a combination of the flight time and those factors that I just mentioned. One of the things that I was also concerned about was the baby getting earache during takeoff and landing. So this is something that I experienced, but as an adult, I know how to manage it. I was just concerned about what to then do, or if there's something I can actually do to prevent it in the first place. So I spoke with my pediatrician, and he said that 30 minutes before takeoff, give the baby nasal spray in one spray in each nostril. And when takeoff starts, start breastfeeding the baby. And the combination of these two things balances the child's ear pressure and prevents them getting earache. So this is something that we've done since, his very first trip, and we still do to date. When it comes to packing, I had a list that I created for that first trip, and I still use this list to date. I just, adapt the quantities. If you're interested in me sharing this with you, drop a note in the comment section and I can share this list. Also, depending on where you're traveling to, I think you should really pay attention to the layovers. We were flying through Dubai and we had an option of a 9-hour layover or a 3-hour layover. Also, because you don't know how your baby is going to take the whole flight, I would encourage you to take the longer layover, but long enough for you to qualify to get a free hotel room from the airline. So we opted for the 9-hour one and we're thinking, okay, at least we can get some rest, we can shower, we can sleep, and the baby can walk around without having to chase them, like you do at the airport. In my case, we ended up meeting up with a friend from high school in Dubai, and we didn't really get much rest, but we did have that hotel room and the time to shower and put the baby down to sleep properly, walk around, do whatever. I would encourage that. But you also need to actively apply for this room once you've taken, a flight with that long layover. One thing that was a game changer for me was the fact that I wasn't traveling by myself. So his dad and his auntie were with me, and, I basically had 6 hands to attend to the baby. And this also impacted the decision, on whether to take a stroller or not. We ended up opting for not taking a stroller and taking a baby carrier because it was 3 people arriving at the same time. We had lots of baggage and, hand luggage, and adding a stroller to the equation would have just been too much and unnecessary. We were really so flexible with the baby carrier. At that age, the babies are so light and so small. It's the easiest solution ever. And all 3 of us used it at some point in time. However, if you're traveling by yourself, then I would encourage you to ask for help. The flight attendants are very helpful, and whenever you ask them for something, especially baby related, I've made really good experiences. They were super helpful and a great backup plan for if you have nobody to help you with on that trip. So after landing in Zimbabwe, and back then, doing whatever, observing all COVID protocols, we had our temperatures measured, we had those forms to fill in and whatnot. After seeing our family and parents, all the stress just flew away. Overall, the trip was really great. My son loved being in Zimbabwe. He had such big milestones. He started crawling when he was in Zimbabwe. I remember my sister saying to me, "Hey, you didn't tell us he started crawling." And I said, "Yeah, because he hasn't." And then I looked at him and he was crawling. I'm like, oh my gosh. I actually think it was on our first night when we arrived home. He also got his first 2 teeth whilst we were in Zimbabwe. Oh my gosh, the crying and the teething process, that was not so cool. But my mom is experienced and she thought fast. So we went to the pharmacy and we got teething powder. And guys, that is the best teething solution that we had for him so far. I didn't find anything as good in Germany. We went on safari with him. He enjoyed that. He met so many of my relatives that he normally would not have met if we hadn't gone on that trip. So I think it's really, really good to go home with your children, introduce them to your family, to your parents. Those are priceless moments that will last a lifetime. Fast forward to a year later, now he's a toddler. So the challenge wasn't how best to keep him comfortable during the flight, but was how to keep him still, because now he's mobile and active and wants to explore the world. Additionally, on this trip, I was traveling by myself. Again, though, I decided not to travel with a stroller. The carrier was still good enough. And I just had realistic expectations. I told myself, I'm not going to expect this baby to sit still like they're an adult. I'm just going to go with the flow. And when it was time to fasten the seatbelts on the plane, that was challenging. He didn't understand why he had to be like buckled up, but you have to do it. So we did do it. But as soon as he could move, he wanted me to walk around. We literally went down the whole aisle and he looked left and right, greeting everybody. He just wanted to see who's on the plane. At this point, I didn't know what he was doing with it, but like hours later, at some point, he actually stood up and he had memorized where other kids were sitting. So we went on an in-flight tour and he played with other children and, just walk around. We had like a play center at the back of the flight where the parents would meet up and, the kids were playing. I had his favorite books. I had his favorite toys. But one thing that I also did was like 3 months prior to the flight, either hide certain toys that you want to take with you on the flight so that there's that novel experience, or buy new toys, but then don't give them to the child. So when they play with them on the plane, they're interesting for longer, as opposed to something they would have played with at home the day before. This really helped. And, people on the plane like playing with babies. The lady opposite me, she asked if she could read a book for him. And I agreed. And she read and read and read. And I got to get some rest. I didn't fall asleep. Of course, I was monitoring, but I wasn't actively attending to the baby whilst this lady was reading for him. So this time when we arrived in Zimbabwe, of course, again, it was very different. Watching him recognizing faces and be excited to see people was so beautiful. And he was running around a lot. We traveled in December, so it was winter this side. We immediately took off as many layers as possible, and he was just enjoying being light. And when we got home, I, changed him into his shorts and a tee. And the first day he was walking weird. Like he was looking at his legs and he couldn't believe that he was so free and so light. He was chasing my parents a lot. Like they would get up to leave the lounge and go somewhere, and he would just chase them. He was like glued to them, and that was so cute. I have lots of photos and videos. And he didn't want me reading for him. He would take the books and he would either walk to my mom or to my dad and he would want them to read for him. He wanted to play with them on the ground. It was just so interesting. Now he was like interacting on a completely different level, and also, signaling what he wanted to do with who he wanted to do it. And it wasn't like that when he was 7 months old, and that was so priceless. Yeah. When it comes to food, he really loved the Zimbabwean food, and I wasn't worried about it because it's also mainly organic, so that's a double bonus. But independent of that, one thing my midwife said when I was pregnant, she said a lot of people are worried about, oh, will my child eat the food in my home country? Your child's DNA is wired to be able to palate whatever you eat in your home country. Of course, this excludes allergies, so you can't make your child eat something they're allergic to. But overall, he enjoyed eating everything else that we were also eating, and he found the food really delicious. And he also loves sari pies. Like, he loved them so much. Overall, when I travel with the baby, I only give him bottled water. So I know some people are concerned about the water in Zimbabwe. I can't speak about that because no matter where we travel to, he only drinks bottled water because I just really don't want to risk my child falling sick whilst I'm traveling. But in general, my parents also drink bottled water at home. But I highly recommend that wherever you're traveling to, research on the water quality and ask yourself, is it really worth risking it? It's not going to be much. You can do what you want for yourself, but for the baby, I think it's really worth just giving them bottled water to play it safe. Overall, I would say when traveling with the baby, pack smart and not heavy. So, pack light. Now when they're older, make sure you have snacks that they really like. Those can also be a good distraction. Have great entertainment, their books and their toys, and really just go with the flow. Things are not 100% going to go however you planned it, but just focus on enjoying it and making the most of, the moments. So if you're thinking of traveling with your little one, I'll just say go for it and go and make those precious memories. They last for a lifetime. For me, the motherland was really good to me and my son, and we're definitely going to be going back, hopefully soon. I hope that this video was helpful for you. And if it was, please click the like button, hit the subscribe button, and drop a comment below. Tell me, what are your biggest travel challenges when traveling with a child? And what are your best travel hacks? I'd love to hear those because we still have a few more trips lined up and I'd love to apply as many hacks as possible. Thank you so much. Stay beautiful. Catch you next time.
Like, comment, subscribe, and share.